Hey everybody, welcome to the Stacia Kennedy Show. I'm so excited here. Welcome. I have the most awesome topic here today. We're interviewing Erica Glessing, who is a podcasting. We're going to actually talk about podcasting for business tips, tricks, and secrets with Erica. I always mess it. Like Glessing.
I know. We were just saying that. Like, we can't get each other's name right. And we've known each other 10 years, and I've published you. Oh, my God. And we still mess it up. But it rhymes with blessing. It's blessing with a G.
Blessing with a G. Exactly. I was like, just saying this, and it still came out wrong. But, yes, she actually helps me get my first book published. She is a international best-selling author, #1. She's also helped many of her clients get not only published, what helps you bring in more business, several books. She has also helped people have a very highly successful podcast, which we'll be talking about today, over 10,000 listens. And so we're going to interview her and get some cool tips and tricks, help entrepreneurs know exactly what they need to do to get results, to help build their tribe and be able to get clients actually calling you because you positioned yourself as the go-to expert. So let's just jump out right in. How did you become so awesome, Erica? Tell us a little bit about your background.
Well, I was raised basically in a writing and television household. So behind me, you can't really see it, but behind me there's my mom's Emmy up on the shelf back there. So my mom was a TV producer. She was way ahead of her time. So she did like a precursor to Oprah. So daytime was all about soap operas. And I remember she came running upstairs one time. She's like, "I've got it. I'm going to do a talk show about real issues for women." And like, it had never been done. It was all soap operas at the time. It was way before Ellen, way before Latifah, way before Oprah, this in the 70s. And I remember looking at her. I was just like 12. I'm like, okay, Mom, go have some fun. So she did it, and she got a Emmy building it. Her host was Jerry Lang, whose son was on Love Boat. Ted Lang was on Love Boat. So she had a really beautiful host for the show, and they won an Emmy that year for breaking the mold, and it went national on PBS. So that was my household. My dad was a newspaper reporter and a book publisher, and he wrote best-selling books. My dad did. So every morning we'd talk about what was in the newspaper, and so my first career was a news reporter. So that was kind of like, staying on the bike.
Awesome. And so what kind of things, growing up in that kind of a household did you learn unconsciously or subconsciously, thinking back?
I really, some of the things that I learned, one of the strangest messages showed up for me, and it didn't make any sense, but it was like, don't try to be perfect. It was like, just do it. Like, just start doing it. You're never, ever going to feel like it's perfect. You're never going to think you have the right microphone. You're never going to think you have the right cameras if you're doing video. You're never going to think you're like high scale enough. You're never going to think, like, you're always going to be seeing like, let's say you wanted to do a show about a psychic, and you're looking at Long Island Medium, and she has like 27 producers on each episode. Each episode has like 27 credits. And they're all helping her for one little 30-minute thing where she walks into a house and talks to spirit. And it's like, you want to do your show, and you're looking around, and it's like, I got my iPad. My daughter's sleeping. I'm praying she's going to stay asleep. It's like, we're so imperfect. And I think it's really past the time where people like those high production shows. I'm not saying they don't, but don't let that stop you from really just doing it. And what I learned from my mom was really, she was ahead of her time. So whenever you're ahead of your time, there's like this moment where you create something and there's this kind of like cricket sometimes. So this book, I was just talking to somebody about this book. It came out in 2015 and it was so far out. Like I even knew when it came out, it was ahead of its time. Like I knew it was far out. But I was like, for those other people who are far out, they're going to be so joyful that we did that. So I'd say if your message is a little bit crazy or new or wild or doesn't make perfect sense, don't give up on it, because you might just really be making like home for your tribe,
So how can people get over that? Because I think that that is one of the biggest places to get that, where they get stuck, they get really stuck there. So like, how can they, just push the needle forward? Like now we have all these really good tools. Are there tools that someone can use? Like,
I know, right?
Everybody all has. Like, what
right?
would your suggestion?
Yeah. Well, I don't think it's the same answer for every person. Some people are really pushed by necessity. Like if I don't start having a product I can sell, I have to go back and work as a waitress. I mean, right? Like how far away is that? And then, it could be, so if you're pushed by pain, then just see how painful it gets until you're willing to just do stuff and start getting paid for what you know, and start getting paid for your gifts, and start getting paid for being a coach, and start trusting that whatever it is that you're sharing, someone's calling it forth from you. There's a natural order of things. I've always find that to be true. Whenever I create something, someone's just like, oh my gosh, I needed that so much. Yeah. Definitely.
What do you think? Let's talk about business. I mean, obviously, the people who follow me, they want to get their message out there, and you're so good at like being able to help people get their. What I really love is that you find the joy in everything, and you're very similar to me, where we have this a contagious laugh as well too. But you help people find joy in the way they market themselves, whether it's through podcasting or book, publishing, like how people get their message out there. Those are several good ways as well too. And how do you help people find joy in doing those things that can really be overwhelming for people when they like don't know even where to start podcasting or writing a book?
It's really interesting you asked that. And I don't know if this is an answer to that or not, but I was on the phone with one of my authors Saturday. So there's a really famous man named Mauricio, I think it's Umansky. So he's really big in real estate. And I have a client, I'm writing a book with him. And so he texts me and he goes, yeah, he'd love to do a testimonial, but can you help us come up with like the language? And so I wrote this really beautiful language about my client whom I adore. And then without like processing it, without like criticizing himself, without like shredding it, he just texted it to the guy, and then the guy fussed on it, made it better, and sent it back. And what I noticed about that particular client is he just doesn't have his barriers up. Like he just lets people compliment him. Like he doesn't think anything. He's not sitting there. He's not tripping, It's like he's not in his head. It almost helps if you pretend you're someone else. Like, so you're promoting someone else, like you're not promoting you. Like, think about it like you're promoting, like as if you were your client, and then that helps. And then the other thing too is I love some of the automation tools for delivering messages on social media. So I personally use one called Deliver It, and it's so nice because you put up a post in your little quiet space. You do a little picture and a link, and then you can program it to post, and you're not sitting there watching to see if someone's saying yes or judging you, or if it's just sitting there, it's just crickets, right? You're just like, you're setting it up and posting it ahead of time. And some of those things seem kind of canned, and they suck. So you have to kind of weigh that. But one of the ways you can have yourself promoted better is to get into a really, really, really high energy space and maybe do some dancing and really feel good and be like, oh yeah, I'm rocking, I'm rolling, I got it, I know it. Like you're in that, you're maybe watch The Suits. Oh my God, get that song in your head. You'll never get it out. They have this funny intro. It's like, right? So then you get in that space of that. I wish I could use their open on my podcast. I'm so sad they own it probably. But so when you get yourself all into it, and that's in that space of that is when you do your posting. And then you got to really not sit on social media. You can't be camping out, hanging out, watching results. You just can't. It's just not worth it. You got to go back in and start creating more content and get focused. And then every single time, yeah, that was the guy. So I have a quote from him for my new client. It says, Albert's a great guy. You should get his book. No, it's better than that. But yeah. And I can't show it because I know he'd kill me, but I have a picture of the two of them walking together in LA the other day. He'd kill me. Aww. So yeah, I think as far as like when you're, but think about like if someone really great wants to say something nice about you and you clog up, right? You got to allow that. Like maybe Thatch could say something great about you. Because you helped him so much in social media for the years. You built so much of his little back end so privately and quietly. And if he said something great about you, then the way it would be more fun is if you lowered your barriers and you let that show up. You let that be places. Like,
I actually have a really great video that he did for me. I need to promote it more and put it in more places, I think.
Isn't it hard? I think that's a great question. Everybody else has questions, but I think, how do you promote yourself? It's really wicked hard. I'm doing a podcast now for a woman named Dr. Kim Duramo, and she's amazing. She does mind, body. It's so cool. She's a physician, and she teaches mind, body. So we just started the show. It just started about 2 weeks ago. And she just lets me just go crazy promoting her. Like she has so much fun. Like, and there's no, am I kind of showing it to you? There's no stopping energy. It's like there's no stopping energy. It's just flow energy. Because I think sometimes it's so hard for us to see our own light, But when we do allow it to be seen, it is a little more fun. And now it might feel awkward, like walking around naked. I mean, it might feel really weird. And you might not like it at first. And so you can't also just look for that. It has to feel good. Yeah, thank you, Marian. That's beautiful. Smile and say thank you. Thank you. What was I going to say? How do you freeze the screen? Take a picture, print screen.
Oh, yeah. Screenshot.
What other questions do you have, honey?
Yeah. So what is the first step? So you're helping people, and you amazingly were able to get over 10,000 listens within the first 30 days of your show, the Erica Glessing show. How were you able to do that? Glessing. Sorry. I keep messing it up. Glessing.
You guys, I have to laugh with her because I also have trouble with her first name. And we've known each other for 10 years, and we've known each other in person for years. Like, I don't know. Did we meet at one of those events with Thatch and Matthew or something like 1.5 million years ago or something? Oh, my God. It's so funny. I think your son was 5 or something.
I know. He's sitting right here. He's 17 now. Can you believe that?
Oh my gosh. So yeah, I think I forgot the question though.
So how do we so what are your first steps? You get your show out there, you got, some episodes.
So no, the first step is not to create the content. The first step is to reverse engineer from where you'd like it to take you. So you want to take a little glimpse in your mind's eye of where you want to be 12 months from now. And then you want to see, where do I want it to take me? What's, podcasts like to have a job just like anyone else. So is its job to bring you people to play with? Is its job to, if you just say, I need my podcast to make money, that's okay. I mean, it's not wrong, but you need to keep exploring that. Like how, what does that mean? Like how many more clients do you want? And then what exact clients do you want? Because then you're going to frame all your other decisions. So if, let's say you want to be a public speaker. So in that case, you might not bring in a lot of guests. If you're you might do a weekly TED Talk type thing.
Oh, okay.
You know, you might practice your talk. Like if your goal was to have people listen to it and get used to your voice, if you're a real estate agent, I recommend you, honestly, it'd be really fun to do like a little league show. Like get all the little league teams into your show somehow, and all what it's like to coach little league or soccer or something like that. And how many families and kids could you get talking on your show, and then they have to listen to it? I mean, you could really have fun with it, you know. Yeah. And then now you're a real estate agent, and you're emailing all these people. Hey, John's going to be Jonathan from the, you know, who's the baseball player from the Twin City League champions, you know. Like how many children, my parents taught me that when they ran the newspaper in upstate New York, how many children can they get into the newspaper? Because then they're going to buy it. All their family's going to buy it. So once you put more people on, everybody's going to listen. So if I was doing a real estate show, I would either do that, or I would do, I would look at my audience and then how I wanted to be perceived. Anything arrogant and I know it all, no one's going to really want to listen to. So really watch out for puffery. If you look at Gary Vaynerchuk, he's so flippin' funny. You know, it's like he's so raw and brutal and honest. And it's like, you know, he does think he walks on water, but he kind of does. But he's so funny. Like, he's so funny. Like, he'll say, if he makes a bonehead move, he'll say, you know, that was a bonehead move, you know?
Yeah, definitely. I had him on my show, too. He just tells it like it is.
Yeah, so your first step is you're going to reverse engineer where you want it to take you. Mm-hmm. And without that, it's kind of like you're just, you know, you have no idea what you want to eat and you have no idea what you're hungry for, and you walk to the grocery store. It's like, how do you get the perfect meal? But if you'd like to end up with, like, you know, stir fry Hawaiian barbecue, you know, or, oh, I just got like beef saute. I don't know if anybody's eating Thai food right now, but I just got like that peanut smell. So you're going to buy different things at the store if you like know what you want. So that's what I'd say is first start with, where would I like it to take me in a year from now? My show, the Erica Glessing Show, I was looking at my book sales and they were really miserable in 2016. I had like the worst book. Some months I had like negative because I get books sent back. It's like, how can I make negative $42 this month? Like, really? You know, like bookstores are like, yeah, they sat on our shelf long enough. Here, you can have it back. I'm like, okay, then I pay double. If they send it back, they charge me double.
Wow.
If they don't sell it. Yeah. So it was like November 2016, and I think I got negative $42 or $56 that month for my book sales. For all 40 books, I made negative $42. And I went, something needs to change. So I talked to my company and it showed me. And so I was like, what if I got all my authors on the show and I started promoting them bigger? And then I could sell the books on the show as I was promoting the authors.
Right.
Yeah. And so the goal of the show when I started, it was really to bring light to the authors. And gosh, you know, I must have interviewed over 350 authors since the show came out. And then, you know, I had some real failures in 2015. I had a show that got 200 listens the whole year.
Wow.
And it was really good. Like, it was hour shows, really deep. Oh my God, Thomas Weatherspoon was on one of them. It was like, I had killer guests. I made so many mistakes though. And when it only got 200 listens in 6 months, I just went, you know.
What were some of those mistakes?
Huh?
What were some of those mistakes?
Well, you know, it's really interesting. I know what works now. I think probably I felt arrogantly I could just put a show on whenever I felt like it. And people really like Wednesdays at 2 or something. You know, I'm still a little bit arrogant like that. So I did it daily, and every day somebody got a show, and that was a big hit. And then I interviewed just amazing. My first month, I was on Entrepreneur on Fire, and basically everybody, after I was on the show, everybody else who was on the show said yes to my show. So I opened the show with John Lee Dumas and Jessica Riverson. I had these like, oh my gosh, Justin, he's like this one of the top bodybuilders on the world, came on my show. That was a real hardship. He's so cute. So I just like, oh my gosh, I got the best, most amazing audience. And the show's job was to help the authors of the you know, who had been writing about really interesting things.
So after you reverse engineer what you want out of the show, like what?
Well, throw me maybe someone can type in something. Let's get some meat here. Give me an idea of what you want from a show, somebody.
Well, I have actually one of my clients here who actually he does high ticket wholesaling is his podcast, the art of high ticket wholesaling, and he teaches people how to do, make 10 to 30 grand in real estate and investing in real estate wholesaling, real estate. So he'd like to have more clients to be able to coach to do that. So he has a podcast as well. Like, what would you suggest? Do you have people build a list before they open up a show, or like, what would you suggest?
So he's seeking people who want to know how to buy a house below market.
Mm-hmm. Wholesaling. Well, it's a little different. It's not like flipping houses. Technically, it's like finding an income opportunity and say, hey, Erica, would you like to invest in this property? But, you would have to pay my wholesale fee of 10 grand or whatever.
So he's looking for investors?
No, so he teaches that process of how to be able to.
But his goal is investors who want to learn.
Right,
It's investors, though. It's people who want to invest.
Right.
So he needs to be sexy to investors. So he should invite there's two ways of doing it. One is to find like really cool stories nationally about people that were able to do it, and then find those people and talk to them about their successes, because everybody always likes like rags to riches. So that'd be one way. And then people would listen to that for like just to believe that they could do it. The other thing to do would be to pull in who are the resource providers, and then interview top experts.
Partners.
I'd have to think about that for a little bit, because it's kind of an interesting. I'd have to kind of like play with it a little bit. If I look at who I want to listen, then I'd probably want to talk to some of them and say, what would be some of the things that you would like in a podcast? I mean, I might even, go out and Thatch would be a good person to interview. Mm-hmm. I might find. Say I was going to do 52 shows.
Mm-hmm.
I might do like 25 shows of one thing and 25 shows of another, and then mix it up every other week.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So one thing might be how to check the title status. Like how do you vet the title? If you're going to buy something, what are the risks of a wholesaler compared to, say, is it in escrow? Is it not in escrow? So I might have an escrow person come and talk about that, or someone from the county come and say, how do you even look up a house's, like what debt's on a house, and how do you figure that out? And what kinds of, what are the worst problems that you want to solve? And then it's so complicated that people are like, okay, well, that's great, but I want to go to the expert and have him help me.
Content, for me is pretty easy, but like after that, like having good guests and content, like what else is important? Do you try to get people to do reviews? How do you become a number one on the podcast list?
Well, with that kind of niche, you might do well with, you caught me a little off guard with that niche, because I haven't tried to serve like a wholesale type of niche before, so that's not something that I just like have in my head. But really what you're doing is you're tribing, you're looking for your tribe. So you're going to get on LinkedIn, you're going to connect with everybody that is a match. You're going to connect with people better than you, worse than you, and about the same as you. And you want to connect, and then you want to have a really nice opt-in that's like the 7 mistakes that people make wholesaling that I made that you don't have to make, because you're going to get on my shoulders and you're going to stand here instead of here where I stood when I did mine. You're gonna, you're gonna not make those same mistakes because you're gonna stand on my shoulders. And so here's all the shit that I went. Excuse my language. Here's all the stuff that I went through, and then you don't have to go through that stuff because I went through that stuff for you. So you're just gonna get on my shoulders. You're not gonna have to do that. And then I'd look at a crap load of opt-ins that are all around that mess that they don't have to do because they got to hang out with you now. So it's like for my podcast, it's like, okay, what are the 5 mistakes that people made? What did I make? Well, I didn't do them in a timely manner. Well, I thought they had to be a certain length. They don't. There's no right answer. It could be a 2-minute podcast and be sexy as could be, and people could download 25 of them and listen to them on their way to work and be happy as a clam. So you really just don't have to, like, you want to give people information about like the worst things that they now don't have to do because you are going to bring them the information. Then you want to give them information so that you show up as knowing, and you don't worry, are they going to go take the class from someone else? You don't worry about that stuff because it's a huge universe and there's billions of people. And so if you're teaching a complicated subject, you could go research every book publishing thing in the world, and then you just say, you know what, Erica, can I just email you my manuscript and a couple $1,000? Can you just do this for me?
Well, that's what I love about podcasting or interviewing people is that you can bring people on that have the expertise. You don't have to necessarily be the expert completely. You bring in these awesome people like you.
Well, Gary Vaynerchuk says it's the cool party syndrome. He's like, if you're not the most popular kid in high school, then you bring in all the cool, popular people, and then you're hosting most popular party, and all of a sudden your stock goes up. He actually says that. He says that's why you have a podcast, because you can do that. But I think for wholesaling, you'd really find really big experts, talk really cool about it, get all your knowledge out there. Even by interviewing me the way you are, you're displaying your comfort of knowing, all these questions you're asking me is so funny because you could almost teach this class of opt-ins and how to build sexy gifts, and you could probably teach that better than me, actually.
It's actually the same. I mean, you said that I caught you off guard, but really it's the same for all businesses, no matter what topic. Everything leads into the opt-in page. I think that's the best strategy. Everything should lead to the lead magnet. Everything should, every content that you do, you should be putting out value and then lead it to somewhere people can get onto your list, because that's what you own. You own your list. All the other types of traffic that you're doing, the books, the video, the audio, if you don't have a face for the camera, you have a face for the radio. It's fine. Get the content.
And if you're really giving good content and good information, here's the other thing. Social media, it's a river. You can't post it too much anymore. You really can't, because everybody comes on when they come and then they leave. They come and they leave. You can't really, unless you're being monotonous and boring, which probably most people hanging out with us aren't.
I kind of think I'm kind of boring too sometimes, but... But I guess it's all perspective and relative, what you think is interesting. I geek out on this stuff. And
I'm going to go find that interview I did with you when you talked about YouTube. It was on my Happiness Telesummit 400 years ago.
But I geek out on that stuff. I just totally love it. And some people just look at me like, you're crazy.
I remember you told me I had to have 100 interviews, and I just looked at you and my eyes got so big. And I think I had 6.
Did I not? I did not say 100.
You said when you get something really happens when you start having over 100 interviews. I swear to gosh, I'm gonna pull you to that. I have over 600 videos on my YouTube now. So
well, there you go.
Yeah, I might be thick, no, but I got it.
There you go. Awesome. Let's see here. What else haven't I had asked you about? I think there's a secret, and I think that there must be something to it. Guys, what is it, Erica? What's the secret tip or trick that you've discovered in your process?
Yeah, I mean, it's taken me years and years to get here. I do have a complimentary like 5 steps to a great podcast. I think it's at Erica Glessing, the EricaGlessingShow.com. You just want to be like reverse engineering to start, and then you want to put excellent content together, and then you want to believe in the show, and then you want to look nice and be fun and light and energetic, and then you need to build in some calls to action. You need to get clients. If you're doing a podcast on wholesale, you're not getting clients. You got to change that crap. You got to change it. If you're not getting leads, you got to change it. If it's not working, you got to change it, because otherwise you're just going to burn out. You can't just push. You have to okay, pull back and see, is this giving me leads? Is this giving me business? Is this working? Is it making money? Is it making money? Not that it needs to make money could be defined in different ways. Maybe it's giving you speaking opportunities, or maybe it's putting on other podcasts and putting you in front of, maybe it's putting on the stage. I mean, we can't define it so narrowly. But if it isn't giving you any opportunities, then you're going to have to change it, I think, because otherwise you're going to burn out so bad. No?
Yes, definitely. And then I think a lot of people do that when they don't see results very quickly, and then they just want to give up after the 5th show, how do you keep the momentum going? Do you try to, so you said you made some mistakes on your last show. Do you now do something differently where you promote or you post who's coming up next ahead of time? Is there a certain launch series that you do?
Well, first of all those questions are so much worry. We're just going to have to blow that right out of the water. Go to the beach, go swimming, get yourself in a good place, hang out with some dolphins, play with your baby. If you're not feeling like it's all right, that's going to be palpable. And people don't really want to be around people that they're scared of their shadow. I mean, they will be there. Then you'll attract that tribe. But I think what I look at for a good podcast is that it's a joie de vivre. It's really a belief in the changes that you're doing. And I had a funny story, because I have this 2 times. So one time it happened when I was a realtor, and one time it happened when I was a publisher. And it was the same story twice. So one time I did an open house, and I had a lot of fun, and I gave out these little handmade cards, and I invited a private neighbors. We did it before and after. And the neighbors were the people that were leaving were really friendly. So we did a neighbors Wednesday night tea type thing with water and treats and things. And I brought all the neighbors in, and I'm like, this is your show Wednesday before it goes on the market Thursday morning. So I was like, hey, you're special. So those cards I made were like invitations. They were almost like wedding invitations. They were like hard cards. Okay. Fast forward 2 years, I get a call from Ohio. The guy has the hard card. He kept it. He goes, you sold my neighbor's house. I love that thing you did. Can you sell mine? I'm like, yeah. He's like, we've been moved to Ohio. We rented for a few years. We didn't know for sure. We weren't going to. No, they bought in Ohio, but they rented their house in Sunnyvale out for a few years to make sure they didn't want to keep it. Now they were sure. So it was like a 2-year long delay before my lead generation gave me $25,000 or something, right? California prices. But it was like a 2-year delay that hard card and that thing that I thought up for those neighbors. And so I want to tell you another story. 2015, I'm in Vegas. My kids are at a tournament, and I meet this beautiful woman downstairs at this hotel. We were sort of stuck there because the kids had this long hockey tournament. And so she and I made friends. And I was writing in the mornings. It was like 5 a.m. We were doing coffee, and she was the most wonderful woman. And I wasn't lead generating or anything. I got a call about 3 weeks ago, 2015. Her best friend, I'm publishing her book about dogs. I just got the contract. So it was someone I met in 2015. So are you giving up at mile 25 of your 26-mile marathon? Are you giving up before your leads have fruition? You don't want to start a podcast. It's a long game. So if you start it and then you just say, well, that sucked. I didn't get a lead in 4.5 minutes. You need to stand there on that wall of your platform. You don't have to stay in the same podcast, but if you're not doing that podcast, be doing something else so they can find you. Because if you're doing all this lead generation, you're for real, and then they're going to they may not need you. And then let's say they inherit a bunch of money, and then they're like, hey, can you help me? I want to be a wholesaler. I got the money now. I want to do it, right? But if you're just sitting there hoping that in 5.5 minutes, I mean, sometimes you do. I got a listing my first day I got my license. That was neat. 2004. But yeah, you gotta be in the long game and just keep being there and keep exploring. And like Mary and I, it's so cute that she wrote. Somehow I helped motivate her to write her books, but I'm waiting for them. They're really exciting, Mary, and I really want you to write those. I'm so excited. They're about like witches and stuff. I'm so excited.
Interesting.
So like, that's a long game. She may or may not have me as her publisher, but we had a conversation. I contributed to her, and then you just let it go, and then you just keep being on that wall. You keep standing there doing it. Does that help?
Yeah, I get it. I love that you just really are all about that energy. So whatever you put that energy towards, you're going to generate something in return from all different sources, like we say all the time, right? So if you decide that you want to use podcasting as your platform, holding that energy, have fun with it. Like you said, have really cool interview people that you want to have on there, making it fun, whether or not it's bringing you a deal in the next, hour or after I publish this out into the, iTunes or whatever. It's out there and working for you. Maybe 3, 5 years from now, something will happen. But whether or not it's from the actual podcast or from something else that I've done. But I was also asking as well, Jess, I know that maybe you're not as structured because you kind of go with your feelings and stuff on how you do things. But I know
you could say it. I'm ADD. I'm well versed with my brain.
But I know that it's not really about a worry. But I think that they always ask you, like, what's the step by step by step? Like what do you do that is like something that you do on a regular basis to promote your podcast, whether it's
I have a podcast done for you program. It lasts about 14 weeks. So it's a pretty big program. You can find it at I think it's at the Erica Glessing Show podcast, something like that. And I basically help people. I do the pre-work on getting it all together, and then I help them get their first 4 shows together. And then I help them with how they're going to frame it. And then I publicize it for them for 12 weeks so they can have like what I got to have. Because my social media reach is now almost 100,000. So I'm able to bring in audience for other people. And so I offer that. And it's a maybe 12 to 16 week process. And then some people need help with some pieces. But you know what? Some people don't need help with some pieces. So it's it's kind of like writing a book. Some people need help with the cover design. Some people painted their cover. Some people need help with grammar. Some people are great at grammar. Some people need help with finishing it. How do I get the ending? I don't know what the ending is. Help me with the ending. So I find with like both podcasts and books, you're just kind of tuning in and saying, okay, what can we do to make this really perfect and really beautiful? And then just don't give up.
Nice. I like it because like you said, like those high production shows have 20 people producing it. So if they can hire someone like you to help fill in the gaps of where they're missing to help them.
I have let's see, the one we just created. It's so beautiful. mindbodytv.podbean.com. That's with Dr. Kim Duramo. And that's, I love this one. Gems with Curry Bossell. And that one was really funny because what happened was she kept talking about sex on Facebook and they didn't like it. And so Gems is glamour, elegance, money, and sex. And so we made it an acronym, and she loves like De Beers, and it's all about money and sex and glamour. And so we made an acronym that just fit the show perfectly, and it was beautiful. And it's able to be advertised on Facebook and stuff like that. I put my podcast advertising into a, what do you call it? Aw, thank you, Marion. You're a sweetheart. That's my program. You're so beautiful. I really appreciate it. So
she was waiting for you to talk a little bit more about the writing part. So if someone wanted to, we'll just kind of wrap it up there because we're kind of at the end of the hour. But if someone wanted to start a book, like to promote themselves, where would they start as well? Too kind of the same thing, huh? Like start with the end in mind. I guess.
It's just so funny you should ask me that. This is my most popular giveaway. It's called, it's a 5-part masterclass on how do you do your book as your brand.
Ooh.
So I made a 5-part video series, and it basically goes through everything. I think, again,
put that on there here.
I've been kind of pulling myself up and looking down a little bit on the whole thing of like the social media and the podcasts and the books and the classes, and really this is really a place where we define our tribe, and we define like who wants to learn from us and who can we teach. And so we're in that process, and so we're slow dripping with our social media. We're giving people bites of things that really say who we are, and there's something that resonates when you're being who you really are, and we all make mistakes, and I come face to face with my mistakes, all the time. Like, I just have to look at my children too. They're so humbling to me because some of them are doing great and some of them are having some major life challenges. And I'm always face to face with like what isn't working. And then I say, okay, what can I bring today to make it work even better? And we're going to ebb and flow. We got to forgive ourselves. But really, if I look back, like there's so many things I wish I hadn't given up, that I wish I'd stuck with it more.
I have a few of those. But then me and my husband always look at each other and say, well, then we wouldn't have met and we wouldn't be where we are right now.
Oh, your husband is so cool.
So, yeah, I made a lot of mistakes. And, but then at the same time, he always, he's so funny too. He'll say, I've made lots of mistakes twice before because he's been married 3 times. So. But anyways.
It's what you just showed me, which I'm so grateful for the questions we've had, is that life force cannot be denied. And so really, if you let something be as big as it can be, it cannot actually fail. Mm-hmm. It can do this or that, but it can't actually fail, because if you're not judging it at every turn, it's still something amazing that you made, and you can take a Facebook Live and you can put it into an MP3. You can put that on a podcast. You can take a class that you taught, turn it into 14. If you look at John Lee Dumas from Mompreneur on Fire, he's so inspirational. Some of his podcasts, he has a bunch of them. Some of them are just lessons. They're 14 lessons. Puts it into a podcast and broadcasts it on iTunes. And what I love about it is iTunes gives you a free distribution center, and then there's hundreds of podcast directories, and then they go into everybody's phone. I have an iPhone and an Android phone, and they go into both my phones. It's so cool. Little podcast button, and you just push it, and then you get all these cool things right in your phone. So iTunes just for free, Apple's not really free, is it? But but it just puts all these things into people's phones for you. So it's this whole network of distribution centers that cost so little.
Did I find a little secret that you just shared? So there's podcast directories other than posting it on iTunes. There's a directory where you can post it to get more listens?
Yes, there's many directories.
Okay.
Many. Just Google, how do I get my show onto podcast directories? And you can submit, some of them pick them up naturally. But when my podcasts are new, when I'm helping someone, I have my VA go in and we have a whole bunch of directories, and we just make sure they all have descriptions. And a lot of them just now, iTunes keeps automating it better and better. So even in the last 2 years, the directories have gotten more easily in sync when a show goes live, gets carried. But there's directories for all kinds of subjects, and the podcast directories, they're like bookstores.
And are they free, or are most of them free, or are they paid?
They're all free. They're all free. Awesome. I don't know any podcast directory that's not free.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Erica, for a great interview. I'm really excited for people to use these 2 mediums to get their message out there. I would really like to have a book. Maybe we'll have to have you on again and talk more about the writing portion. I just think podcasting is so cool because you can take a video like this and turn it into audio and make it go into a podcast too.
Yeah, and just on that, like I do think like Amazon, well, this is probably too crazy, but Amazon, people go there with commercial intent.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So when they're going to a podcast directory, they're going to just educate themselves.
Yeah.
But when they go on Amazon, they're going to go buy. They're going to go buy something.
Right. Right.
Like you don't usually just go on Amazon just to look at things.
It's more of a purchase.
You're like, I need some shoes, or I need a new speaker. I need a book.
My God. Just like came to me. Well, you can technically take parts of this and transcribe them and make it your book too, right?
Yeah, I'm actually doing that for one of my clients. I'm making some of her shows into ebooks so we can have all this Amazon SEO. So people, when they Google, they can find her as the expert and then go back to her podcast from Amazon.
I love it.
It's really interesting. I mean, I think we have so many tools at our fingertips, like uploading a Kindle. This is how much it costs. Nothing. It doesn't cost anything.
Yeah.
So if you don't have some Kindle stuff out there, I mean, you don't want to have like a horrible excuse for the worst quality of anything and think it's going to bring you business, but it doesn't take that much to do something pretty on Kindle either.
It doesn't. That's what I love about this whole world is just so much easier to do a lot of things and get your message out there. So I'm so excited, you guys. If you guys want more, I'm going to take all of these awesome goodies that Erica shared with us and put them on the blog, staciakennedy.com. You can always find Erica at happypublishing.net or some of the links I will post them on the
website.
And
my name's pretty cool because I'm the only one on Twitter and I'm the only one on Facebook. Well, I'm on Facebook twice, but I'm the only one, and I'm the. So I think there's one other Erica Glessing in the world so far that I found.
What? So, no way.
Yeah.
Well, you're the one and only in my heart here. So thanks again, Stacia Kennedy. Thanks for being
on.
There
can't be very many Stacia Kennedys either.
There actually is someone on Twitter who won't give up the Twitter Stacia Kennedy. Come on, man. So I have to go Stacia_Kennedy,
or Stacia Kennedy official.
It's like, and then it's way too long. That's just like way too much.
Oh, that's so funny. All right. Well, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. And thank you everybody for listening and your questions and comments.
If you guys have any question or if you like someone to just take the reins on your podcast, make sure to get a hold of Erica. Thanks again. Much love and aloha. And we'll see you guys next week, Tuesday on the Stacia Kennedy Show.